Last month, the European Union began the drafting Montenegro's accession treaty. For the first time since 2013, we are really counting down to the next enlargement, to Montenegro become the 28th member state by 2028. Last week, we held an intergovernmental conference with Albania, which opened up the next phase in the accession process. In addition, the Commission has proposed to close 3 negotiation chapters with Albania. And the Serbian government presented a concrete calendar to approve the missing elements of the electoral law reform and to complete the judiciary reform in line with the ODIHR and the Venice Commission recommendations in the coming weeks. And, very important, this week we are unlocking the process for opening the first enlargement cluster for Ukraine and Moldova. This is proof that reforms and engagement with all actors of society pay off, and that the European Union is committed to enlargement.
Enlargement is a geostrategic imperative for us and the long-term investment in our peace, our stability, and our security. It will remain merits-based, but it must become more dynamic. You could hear it also from my friends here on the podium, because merits-based does not mean slow. Merits-based means fair and predictable. In other words, it means when reforms are delivered, then progress on the path of accession to the European Union must follow. And this is what we want to do, to reward reforms with real integration. So, for example, access to our programs, closer links to the single market, and European Union funding that rewards the reforms. To conclude, if I had to sum up this summit in 2 words, they would be determination and confidence. Determination to make the European future of the Western Balkans concrete as quickly as possible. Confidence that our union will grow in the years ahead. And yes, Montenegro becoming the 28th member state by 2028 is within reach. That's very clear. The discussions showed that today, so we can only encourage you to keep up the good spirit and the pace that you've shown, the ambition and the determination. We hope that Albania will follow quickly and that the whole region will keep moving closer to our union. Because what this summit has shown is that we already form a community of shared destiny. Our security is connected, our economies are connected, and of course our future is connected. The enlargement process is how we turn this reality into membership and how we bring the Western Balkans closer to where they belong, that is at the heart of the European Union.
Since the 24th of February 2022, all of us are fighting for a just and lasting peace in Ukraine, and all the means are important to achieve a just and lasting peace in Ukraine. Increase our pressure on Russia to support Ukraine, and of course support also Ukraine in their peace negotiations efforts. Is our position always the same: support Ukraine, and looking at the same time looking forward in the future of Ukraine in the European Union. And the great news from this week is now we are unblocking this process, and as Prime Minister Magyar said, we can presume that in 3 weeks it's possible to deblock this accession process. Is very good news.
Yes, I can only underline that. It shows no one wants more peace than the people of Ukraine and the President of Ukraine. And he has our full support what the content of the letter is concerned. On China, you know our general approach. It is very clear: de-risk, not decouple. What we want is dialogue, but dialogue has to deliver. We like competition, but competition has to be fair. And we want access to the Chinese market that shows reciprocity in what the Chinese are offering to our companies. And therefore, it is a whole concept that we're working on towards China. We have a toolkit of different instruments, but for us it's important to really have this order that I just mentioned: de-risk, not decouple, have dialogue that delivers, embrace competition but protect against unfair competition, and make sure that the access to the respective markets is reciprocal.
And I'm asking this question because people in Serbia today, through a majority of pro-government media and tabloids, can only see hugs and kisses between you and President Vučić. Thank you.
So it's very clear the accession process is a merits-based process. As we said, it's reforms that have to be delivered. And indeed, the rule of law is a central cornerstone of the accession process. The same goes for media freedom. You know exactly what reforms have to be delivered. It's just judicial reforms. It is the REM Council. It's the electoral law. It's CFSP alignment. I will not go into detail. But here is very clear for Serbia: if Serbia delivers on these reforms, then the third cluster can be opened. Merits-based process, as we just explained. It is a responsibility on two sides. If Serbia delivers, we will also deliver. And it's very clear that the European Union wants Serbia also being part of the European Union, so we support the Serbian society on its path towards the European Union, but it has to fulfill the criteria.